power, and sex. That's what this case is about. It didn't matter what obstacles she had to remove to get what she wanted. And if it was a person, it didn't matter who.
Answer, guilty. Is Lori Noreen Vallow not guilty or guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Joshua Jackson Vallow and grand theft by deception? Answer, guilty. Is Lori Noreen Vallow not guilty or guilty of first-degree murder of Joshua Jackson Vallow? Answer, guilty. Is Lori Noreen Vallow not guilty or guilty of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder of Tammy Daybell'S? Answer, guilty. Is Lori Noreen Vallow not guilty or guilty of grand theft? Answer, guilty. Dated this 12th day of May, 2023, signed by the presiding officer.
They got the bitch. Hell yeah.
Good morning, everybody. We're waiting for the hearing to start in Idaho, and also for Krisha and the team to be all ready for this hearing today. And I'm so glad that everybody is here with us today. We got 125 people. Hey, hello, Olive Heatley, Ann Gibson, Sit and Spin, CHP, Gloria Fitz, Olive uh, Heatley, Beach Bomb, Janet Murray, Fearfar. Let's see, we got lots more people in the chat this morning. Beach Lady, Within Reason, Honey Pie, Ann Gibson, Cher Hughes, Within Reason, Pam Keith, Julie Coe, KJ and the Ray, Candy McMurrin, Nancy Burbauer, Chris 10. We got quite a few people waiting, and it's just unbelievable that we're even having this hearing today, because it is really it just shows the arrogance and the I'm the goddess of the world, to think that you've done all this and you think that you still have a right to say who can speak and who cannot speak about this, because it's unbelievable, the whole situation. I was thinking about the other day about how it affects so many in so many different ways. I mean, Tammy was a librarian, for God's sakes, a beautiful, beautiful librarian that dealt with children in a beautiful way all day and had her life snuffed out. I mean, a librarian, think about it. And probably there's not one person on this earth that had bad will towards Tammy. And the two kids, I mean, they're kids. Uh, I go over and over what Lori had said to her sister and to her son about where the kids were. And it's like she totally did not want to take responsibility. And I'm just going to say, even to say she was demonized or she's the devil made her do it, whatever, to me is an excuse. I mean, that is a dang excuse in itself, because even if, quote, the devil or the demon or whatever made her do it, by what means did the devil influence her this way? I want to find out. Don't y'all want to find out? What in the world? It's just unbelievable to me that we're in this situation where a cold-blooded killer is making everybody sit around and decide and pick their words about how they want to say they've been impacted by this whole situation. And I'm going to, y'all talk amongst yourselves for a minute, and I'm going to make sure that Judge Boyce and them don't sneak up on us. And this is another thing. And Idaho has a problem. I'm just going to say it. I check on the East Idaho news. Why would I? You say, why would I? And I know that that's their local news. And boy, the local news here is terrible too. But I have never seen so many abusers of children as there is in this area. And I just don't know what to say about it. And it's just almost unthinkable. So I'm going to, when I'm broadcasting to YouTube like this, I cannot see your comments as well as I can when I'm in YouTube. So I'm going to look over here at this, at my computer that has the YouTube comments, and I'm going to read some of the comments while we wait on Crescia to come in. And if anybody sees any movement by Judge Boyce or East Idaho News or any of those things, be sure and say something in the comments, because we don't want to miss it. I mean, I don't think we're going to miss it, but I want to make sure that we get on at the beginning of it. So I'm going to look at the comments, and so let's see what we got here. Chard the Truth Seeker says, anyone that has ever had to be silenced by force, by power, by judicial system, an abuser, etc., is unforgivable. Voices should not be silenced. It's very toxic. That is really true. Rhinestone Cowgirl says a lot of people were impacted by these 4 or 5 lives gone. They sure were. Beach Bum says, thanks to all y'all, Cresha is over 8K subscribers. Yay for 8K. Shara Truth Seeker says, in Gannon Staunch's case, the judge was amazing in allowing people to speak up. Candace Parr says, the swamp monster is letting us know it bothers her that people know what she is. Beach Bum says, yes, Shire. He did teach judge classes. Judges have plenty of discretion, so I don't know. He doesn't have it. And I think she was trying to be ironic. Yes, it was a great, let's see, Rhinestone Cowgirl says, yes, it was a great way for the victims to release their anger and questions. And Gibson says, where is the freedom of speech in this instance? Sheriff Truth Seeker says, Beach Bum, Cresha deserves every one of us supporting her and joining her in this journey. Congratulations, Cresha, for a beautiful community of love and respect. That is really a beautiful comment. And also, Olive Heatley says she needs a megaphone in each ear so she can hear every word of those statements. She sure does. Let me see if I want to put some of these comments up here because some of them are too good for us not to share with everybody. Rhonda Snelling stand-up comedy says, I'm so happy I can make this live finally. We will hear the trauma she created. She may be able to smug as always. She has a whole lifetime to contemplate these words. Rhonda also says, no more pool parties, Hawaii, family milestones, just nothing. Beach Bum says, Rhonda, yep, no more warm tropical notes and sunrises and cool breezes. Sugar Beach Bum says, we got 20 minutes left to wait. I'm going to see what we got. Sugar Beach Bum. Sugar. I have mixed up 2 names. I hope y'all forgive me. No, there's nothing going on here. I need to keep refreshing it and checking East Idaho news to see if they got anything else going over here yet. Nothing's going on. Okay, now I'll come back and read some more comments. Okay. Woo. Ann Gibson says, morning, KJ. I don't understand what's to gain by this. The woman is going down for life. Just added stress for the victims again. I think she does like to torture us just a little more, Ann Gibson. She likes to torture the family and everybody else. Oh, poor Nita Smith. She's watching from the dang hospital bed. Nita Smith, we hope you get to feeling better, and we love you a lot. Everybody pray for her. Okay. And Gibson says, my eldest grandson is 21 in a few weeks, and he's having a big surprise party. I've been making a collage of baby pics. Time has passed so quick. I know he's going to love that. Well, y'all all of the whole family will love that. Oh, mercy. Let's see. Grammy B says that she's about to be as mad as KJ. Oh, we're all mad as KJ. KJ was mad yesterday, and she was just showing how mad that things could be. Really, it's like, Lori, you just want to start shit. Oh. And also, somebody mentioned that it'd be the one of the last times that Archie and them will get to act up and show their faces and what they can say about it. So maybe they're wanting to make a name for themselves right here on the end. Let's see here what Rhinestone Cowgirl said. I think the judge should step down after this case is over. I've never seen a convicted murder so coddled by in history of true crime. I'm just going to say, you're in the Mormidor. Should not have said that. Here, let's see what it says here. Sheriff Truth Seeker says, Beach Bum, congratulations and beauty. My pleasure. You must be proud. She must be elated. Oh, she's talking about Beach Bum's daughter just graduated from, I believe it was naval school. It's wonderful. Let's see here what it says. Shar, thank you seriously. Please keep her safety in your thoughts and prayers. I really appreciate it. She's 105 pounds. So go with it. She's a Navy person that weighs 105 pounds, but she is a powerhouse if she like her mama. That's what I got to say. Let's see. I'm hoping Judge Bush does the right thing and lets Tammy's aunt give her impact speech, especially if the others are just sending letters. I agree, Pam Keith. Listen, I don't want to miss it. Lord help us. I'm seeing if there's any movement on those pages, and if you'll just talk amongst yourselves while I'm checking that. And also, and then I'm also going to listen. I'm going to check Nate's Twitter feed. You know, it's not Twitter anymore; it's X. So we're going to see poor little Nate. We're going to talk about him having X's and double X's and triple X Nates. So I don't know how that's going to work. I hope it. Nate Eaton. Let's see. Nothing movement there. Cresher will be in just shortly. Let's see what else we've got going on here. I could, if I could bleed over into judge trial and sentencing too. These rulings and etc. You know, Pryor, he is a big mess. That Pryor is a big mess. I don't know what's going to happen about that. Here's the deal. Rhinestone Cowboy says, well, she shouldn't have committed these crimes if she doesn't want to hear the effect that it has on other people, in my opinion. Yes, exactly. Rhinestone Cowgirl, exactly. Let's see what Olive Heatley says. The hussy don't give a damn. It's all about her. And that is exactly right. And that's what has been the deal for the whole time. It's been about her. It was never about JJ or Tylee or any of them. It was all about whatever Lori had. And Lori wanted power. She did. And she thought that she could have power by being married to someone who was, quote, to her, more spiritual. And I just want to say, and this is not about what religion is true or not true or not, but undoubtedly, Charles really believed this, because even whenever he decided that he wanted to date again, he got an LDS dating site. He intended to live a life in this religion, and they smited him out because they said he wasn't good enough. Lori and Chad. There is something completely wrong and mixed up in your brain when you allow your beliefs in something to override good sense and godliness. Godliness to do to other people what you would want to have done to you. I mean, just follow that one simple rule, none of this would have happened. It's just messed up in the brain. And really what we're going to do, or what we intend, I'm looking around like I'm in charge of something, and I'm not. And that is just research this and try to find out what went on in their heads that they thought this was a dang good idea. And there's a lot more of them. Krisha asked that question quite often. She says, what about the rest of them? What about the rest of them? I listened to a video yesterday, a group of women sitting around talking the same stuff that we heard Melanie Gibb and Lori and those speaking. And it's just a matter of time till one of them is going to do some craziness like this. And I don't know how you reach people who are that brainwashed. I'm just going to say that. And I'm going to say this too. Brainwashing is different than what you might think that it is. It's when people trust people instead of checking things out from themselves. When you trust people who don't give you the receipts, who don't tell you the resources. Where did this come from? Where are you hearing this from? You might say, well, some people. Who are some people? Tell me. Well, I read. Where did you read it? Because if you follow these trails back to their sources, you can have a better understanding of what's going on. But there's religions and teachings in this world that want to get you involved with the good feeling they have and not give you an informed choice about what's going on. There's things that they're not telling you. There's like down the road. So when somebody says, well, that's not in my religion, well, maybe you just hadn't found out about it yet. Research these things. Don't trust your life or your hereafter, or this, especially the life right here, on anybody else's knowledge. Research it and follow it to the ends. And sometimes that'll make your brain hurt because it was some things you're going to learn that you weren't counting on learning. So let me check again. I've talked my mess, and I'm going to miss Mr. Dr. Boyce. There's. And so I don't want to miss him, so I'm going to be checking. Let's put up a few more of these comments. I don't even. Okay. Shar says, Krisha has really brought to the home many good points as regard the motivation regards decisions, even at this point. Wow, this protection for Lori. Hey, Krisha.
Good morning. Good morning. We just on time, right?
Yes. I'm glad you're here. Look, you got it up. You're waiting too. Okay.
Oh yeah, I put it up and I didn't know it was gonna throw it on the screen. You know.
Refresh it ever so often.
Oh.
Because I don't know. I just don't want to miss it.
Right. Yeah. Nothing yet.
My lighting is bad here. I don't have the lights on. They have lights, but I don't have mine.
No, I'm just not in the dark. I can turn mine off. We can match.
No, don't do that.
Good morning. Good comments, Those were good comments. Thank y'all. This is this is crazy. I don't understand. It makes me question the inner depths of my soul. This whole case, this whole experience is just whack. I don't know. it's like you see things, you explore, you research things, and then you see how it happens in other cases, and then you just kind of try to, or I've tried to kind of put my parameters or expectations. I try not to have any. That way I'm not let down, and it's hard. It's so hard because it is an emotional roller coaster, KJ. And that's what this whole thing is. And that's part of their thing. Part of their thing is fear and torture, turning the pain up, if you think about it. And it goes right in line with all that crap. So I don't know. It's just who gets to define that? I mean, it affects every one of you. You've never met them, and it's just like, how is this right in someone's mind, a judge's mind, a lawyer's mind? I don't even question the killer's mind, but I don't know. It just doesn't make too much sense. My uncle said nonsensical. It lines up all the way. So, nice office, though. Good morning, Detective's daughter. Live now? Okay.
Where's she seeing it live?
I don't know. I'm on the page, so I can't see the comments. Huh. I don't even know who said it. Ann Gibson, maybe? I'm Crusher the Refresher. Good morning, Trish. Nate Eaton.
Nate Eaton.
Yeah, that's what Olive says. I'll go look over there. Doesn't make too much sense.
Well, I figured that East Idaho News will have it too.
I mean, they usually stream off of.
Yeah, everybody does.
Let's see.
Well,
I'm on East Idaho News now, live. Okay, here it is. All right. Can't tell you. Neat. All right.
Breaking. Well, for God's sakes. I got knocked off at East Idaho News.
I don't want to stream off of his channel. It's my family. It's like,
I hear you.
Subject matter jurisdiction. That reminds me of Daryl Brooks. Sorry. That was a train wreck of a freaking trial. Oh my God. Yet I have like more respect for Daryl Brooks than I do for Lori Daybell. It's not much. But he's a narcissist. Oh my God. It's a re-victimization all over. I don't know what they. Oh yeah. Yeah. Heather would be a good statement maker. I wish she would come out the woodwork. Well, hello.
Yeah.
No. Can't hear him though. We're standing by. Tell BOYCE to stand down.
Well, I wonder what's going on because he's not tweeting about it either.
He's working. He has 8 arms. No, can you imagine?
Well, I think he has help too, though.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I think so. And the coddling, I don't think is the actual victims. I think the coddling is what they don't want people to know. Because what I have to say, since there are no other arrests.
All right, everybody. Do we need to go back to main cam?
Since there are no other arrests, I'm speaking to
Good
everyone.
morning. It is Wednesday, and you can hear me. We have sound. Thank you. This was a last-minute hearing scheduled in the Vallow Daybell case, so we wanted to get everything together. Big shout-out to Jordan, who helped get this live stream possible. I want to fill you in now, just to let you know, the second that Judge BOYCE goes live on his YouTube channel, we're going to cut over to that so you can watch the hearing as it happens. This is a last-minute hearing that was called for Monday by Lori's attorneys. The issue revolves around one victim, one person who wants to give a statement.
It's really more than that.
Lori
It's just on when you're
Vallow's
addressing.
sentencing. Idaho law defines a victim in the eyes of the law as immediate family members.
Yeah.
Judge BOYCE
What
has
if
made
they're
it
not
clear on
related to
previous rulings and on this ruling that he doesn't want to minimize other victims. I mean,
And what if you're
really
not
everybody
related
could
to
be a
them?
victim
What if
because of these crimes. In this case, every taxpayer is a victim because we're paying for Lori Vallow's attorneys and we're paying for the court system. But in the eyes of the law, victims are classified as immediate family members only. So after Lori Vallow was found guilty, Tammy Daybell's aunt, Vicki Hoban, asked if she could read a victim impact statement when Lori Vallow Daybell is sentenced. The judge said no. At the time, BOYCE said he didn't know the relation between Vicki Hoban and Tammy Daybell. Tammy Daybell's mother, Phyllis, passed away on June 8th. So Vicki sent the judge a letter and said, is there any way I could stand in place of Phyllis Douglas, Tammy's mom, and represent her? Because she would be an immediate family member. Much like how Kay Woodcock was not technically an immediate family member due to adoption and things like that, the judge allowed her to sit in the courtroom to be JJ's representative because JJ's mother was on trial and his father is dead. So the judge said, yes, okay, I'm fine with that. If Vicki Hoban wants to represent the family, wants to represent Phyllis, I'm fine with that. She can come, she can give a victim impact statement, no problem.
Right.
Well, Lori Vallow's team filed a motion saying, hold up, Tammy Daybell's sister, Samantha, is going to speak during the hearing, and her dad has filed a written statement too, Tammy Daybell's dad, so Phyllis's husband. So her attorneys are saying because of that, because you have a sister who is an immediate family member and the dad, the husband of Phyllis,
like
who's an
Barry.
immediate family member, then there's no need to have an aunt give a statement. That's what the whole issue is this morning. Here we are 5 days before the sentencing, and the judge is going to decide, did his original ruling stand? Because he did say to Vicki, yes, you can give a statement. It just went really dark in here. Maybe the sun.
Well,
Side note, it just went really dark. I'm still on. Okay. Or is Vicki going to be able to speak as a representative of Phyllis Douglas, or is she not? Is the judge going to say never mind? So that is what the issue is saying. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What do you think? You know, is the law firm on who should speak? Because then could somebody come and argue, well, I'm the uncle, but the mom, the dad is dead. I'm just giving a hypothetical here. You know, I guess that could open a door, or does it not? Should the judge just let her speak on behalf of Phyllis and then move on? You know, let others speak. We do know on Monday, Kay Woodcock will be speaking, giving a victim impact statement. As far as I have heard, I don't believe that Summer Shiflett will be there, Lori's sister, but she has written the judge a letter. I also do not believe that Colby Ryan will be there, but he, by any account, could speak if he wanted to. And so could Lori's parents. Lori could also speak. This is kind of her one chance to stand up and say basically whatever she wants. And she's not going to be questioned. She's not going to be cross-examined. She's not going to be have an objection from somebody. She's going to be able to stand up and say what she wants if she wishes. That's the question. She did not testify at her trial. And so the question is, will she speak here? Now, the hearing is set to begin in about 2 minutes. Again, we're keeping an eye on it. And the second it does happen, we'll switch over so that you can watch it live. It's going to be on Zoom. So the Lori's attorneys will be in one of the Zoom boxes. The judge will be in his chambers. Lori will likely join from the jail. She has been at most hearings. There were a few there in the early days that she didn't attend, but she's been pretty active in her defense team. So she will be there. And then the prosecutors will be on there and the judge will too. And so the judge is allowing a live stream of this, and he is allowing a live stream of the sentencing on Monday. Now that is going to begin at 9:00, and the courtroom is expected to be packed. I would advise you to watch wherever you're at, on your phone, on your TV, because we'll carry the whole thing live. If you're trying to get a seat in the courtroom, it will be very difficult, because I don't know how many seats are in that courtroom. Maybe 100, you could say. That's just a number. All of the victims get a seat. The families get a seat. The law enforcement get a seat. Court staff will have to be there. They'll get seats. Some former jurors are coming, from what I understand. They'll get seats. So when you take away all those numbers, I don't know how many seats are going to be left. Not saying, you have every right to try to go and get in, but there's not a lot of, nothing's guaranteed. At whatever seats are left, it's a first come, first served basis. So we'll be there trying to get a seat, bringing you the live coverage. And we'll see who does speak at the sentencing. Lori Vallow could face the maximum sentence she could get here on the 5 counts of the 3 conspiracies and the 2 first-degree murders. She could get life on all of those counts. So that's 5 life sentences. She also faces a grand theft charge. On that sentence, she could get 1 to 25 years. She could also, just be given fixed prison time, let's say 50 years on each count, or 25 years. It's really up to the judge as far as what he does, and he will hear from the prosecutors. They will give their recommendations. Her team will give their recommendations. They'll argue why she should deserve a certain sentence, and the prosecution will argue why she should deserve another sentence, and then the victims will speak, as we talked about earlier, and then the judge will pronounce his sentence. At that point, she will be sentenced to some prison time. She will go quickly, I would imagine, into the custody of the Idaho Department of Correction. She will no longer be an inmate at the Madison County Jail. It's more than likely that she will serve her time in Pocatello at the women's facility. That's the maximum women's facility in the state of Idaho. And that is where most women serve their time. There are other facilities for women. It's possible that they transfer her somewhere else, but that's where she stays. She can appeal the decision, the guilty verdict, and normally that will take about 3 years. And I know you're saying the hearing was supposed to begin at 9:30. It's now 9:31. We are keeping an eye. The second that he goes live, we will go live. So I'm just refreshing here.
And when he goes live,
it looks like he is not live yet. And maybe that's one of you calling saying, "Where's the live hearing, East Idaho News?" We're waiting for it. So again, that could be any minute now when we check in to see if it happens. And Jordan, I'm just going to tell you, if you toggle between home and live on that screen, normally it pops up on one of those places between home and live, and we'll switch right over to that when it happens. So the big curious question I know so many people have had is, will Lori speak at her sentencing? And that's, of course, on Monday. And what do you think? I mean, do you really think that now she will do the tell-all? I've covered all sorts of sentencings over my career. Some people go and they appear to have true remorse, and they cry and they just really show remorse. Other people defend themselves and say they didn't mean to do it, or that they still don't acknowledge that they did it. Other people just don't speak. They don't say a word. They don't, or they'll speak through their attorney, or they'll write a letter that they'll have their attorney read. It all depends on them, and I imagine her attorneys will advise her, given the fact that she still faces charges in Arizona for the conspiracy to commit murder of Charles Vallow and Brandon Boudreaux, her former nephew-in-law. So her legal troubles are far from over, but at least in Idaho, they will be. Now, I started to talk about the appeals. She can appeal within 42 days of the sentencing, and it's more than likely she will appeal. I think that the stats show that like 90% of people appeal their convictions on these felonies.
I would.
And what'll happen is she'll be assigned a whole new set of appellate lawyers. They will go through the case, word by word. They'll read all the transcripts. They'll listen to the testimony. They'll go through the evidence, And
Yeah.
normally that'll take about 3 years to resolve itself out.
I endorse.
Then, if that appeal is denied, she can file another appeal. And that appeal will be for ineffective counsel. She will argue that her attorneys have not been effective in representing her. And because of that, she should get a whole new trial. That process can also take 3 years. So if she decides to appeal within 42 days, we then are looking at, if she takes it all the way to the point that she can, probably 6 years of the appeal process. It's long, it's arduous. The legal system goes sometimes stunningly slow. And then we have another kink to add into this situation. It's Arizona. Her attorneys her appellate attorneys could say, we're going to put things on pause here to see what happens in Arizona. And then Arizona proceeds with their cases, and then the appellate lawyers here pick up on their thing. So that's what we're watching. Jordan, any sign from the judge's YouTube channel?
Negative.
We don't have a feed yet. I know we're patiently waiting. More times than not, these things tend to start a little bit later. And a lot of times on Zoom, they start even later than that because people have to log in and there's issues. As you saw earlier with us, there's tech issues, there's things to figure out. So I don't anticipate today's hearing to be extremely long, but it will be interesting to see what the judge decides. Again, if you're just tuning in, here any minute, Judge BOYCE is holding a hearing. It's a Zoom hearing, and the issue is going to be whether Tammy Daybell'S aunt, Vicky Hoban, should be permitted to speak at Lori Vallow Daybell'S sentencing on Monday.
They don't say bless you.
Under the eyes of the law in Idaho, an aunt is not considered a victim.
Well, they can kiss my white ass.
Legalese is concerned, and that means that she of course is a victim. But in the eyes of the law, should she be allowed to give a victim impact statement?
Oh, then Judge BOYCE is allowed to do a freaking.
The judge originally denied the request from Vicky Hoban, and then she sent him a letter explaining who she was and saying, "I would like to sit in for my sister, Phyllis Douglas,
who died.
Tammy's mom, who died. I'd like to sit in for her and represent her." And the judge said, okay, because Phyllis passed away, she was an immediate family member of Tammy. Because she's not here, you can do that. Well, her Lori Vallow's attorneys are objecting to that. They are saying, hold up, Tammy's dad is giving a statement and Tammy's sister is giving a statement. They're the immediate family members. They're speaking basically on behalf of the family. So Vicky should no longer be allowed to speak. And they requested a hearing. They requested that it happen this morning at 9:30 Mountain Time. We're 6 minutes past 9:30, and we will hear what they have to say. And we'll hear what the prosecution have to say. They could object to this. They could say, go ahead and let her speak. The judge, of course, has made up his mind, but he could change his mind. And this is all happening 5 days as we prepare for the sentencing. So that's where we stand now. Some of you are asking, is Chad Daybell going to be there today? No, he won't. And in fact, people won't physically be in a courtroom because it's on Zoom. Will Chad Daybell be there on Monday? No, he won't. That would be something if he showed up at the sentencing of his wife, but he'll likely be able to watch it from his jail cell if he wants, or he'll hear what the sentence will be, but he won't be there. His attorney is obviously paying close attention, as he was through the whole trial. John Pryor was showing up there
sometimes
daily, almost every day. Listening to what was being said, and that was perfectly legal. In fact, if he wasn't showing up, you might question why your attorney wasn't going when they had the chance to kind of get a preview of the trial and of the evidence. Chad's trial will begin. It's scheduled to begin on April Fool's Day, April 1st of next year.
My mom's birthday.
And that will be a much longer trial, assuming it happens and there's not a plea agreement between now and then. It will be longer because it's a death penalty case. Chad Daybell is looking at a maximum sentence of death, and a jury will decide that, again, assuming everything lines up and the trial happens. It will be a much more intense jury selection process because there'll be questions about the death penalty, jurors' views on the death penalty, things like that, which we didn't have in Lori's case because the death penalty was taken off the table. And then once it goes to trial, there will probably be a little bit more of a defense than there was in Lori's case. As you recall, if you followed the trial, they didn't have one. They didn't present any witnesses. They didn't present any evidence. They just said, we feel that the prosecution has not presented a case, and so we rest, which, that was it. So Chad Daybell's trial, I would imagine, if again, assuming it happens on the timetable we're looking at, probably all of April and all of May, potentially maybe into June too, because if the jury comes back with a guilty verdict, they then have the penalty phase where other witnesses will be called, and Chad Daybell's team will call people arguing against the death penalty, saying my client doesn't deserve it, and then the prosecution will call witnesses saying my client, or that he does deserve death, and here's why. So again, let me just check over with Judge Boyce's YouTube channel. And do you want to flip over, Jordan, and show everybody what we're seeing, just so that they have an idea of what we're looking at? I'm just going to shoot a text here and to make sure that everything's still a go. The other day we were live here, and this is the screen we see. Okay, so that's what we're seeing. And we're just waiting for that to happen. And once that flips on, we'll just simulcast that here for you. I'm assuming they can still hear me.
Thank you, Mary.
When I talk on that. Okay, good. All right, so Jordan, we can flip back over to this shot. The other morning we were doing this, there was a hearing in Chad's case the other morning that we were getting ready to go live on. Actually, we were live here talking with you when they filed them. The judge went ahead and vacated the hearing because the prosecution didn't object. Basically, Chad Daybell's attorneys had filed a motion for all of the transcripts and exhibits from Lori's hearing and Lori's trial. And the prosecution said, that's fine, we'll give them to you. All right, I'm being told there's a little technical issue on the side of the court, so stand by. It's coming shortly. And again, as they said that it'll be here in just 1 or 2 minutes. So while we do that, I'm happy to take any questions you might have. I know that a lot of you are watching from all over the place, wondering,
thank you, Julie Co.
why this is
right there.
Why this would even be an issue. Why can't Lori's defense team just let the aunt speak? Well, they're going to argue that in the eyes of the law, she shouldn't be permitted to speak. And depending on the case, depending on the judge, depending on all sorts of circumstances, in other cases, the judge might allow a friend to speak, or the judge might allow a coworker to speak, who technically, again, in the eyes of the law, they're not an immediate family member. But
is nobody understanding
there are so many victims in this case that if he said anyone that wants to speak as a victim, well, maybe you live in Fremont County and you live next door to Chad Daybell, and you were there the day that those kids were found, and it really affected you emotionally or psychologically, and you said, I want to go and speak my mind to Lori Vallow. You could have an argument for that. And that's why the judge is really sticking, or seems to be sticking, to what the law says. And of course, he doesn't make the law. That's up to the legislature. So that's what's happening. Is Chad's trial allowed to be live streamed? Good question. I'm going to take a break here. We're hoping. He didn't allow Lori's. He did allow the verdict to be live streamed. We're going to make a request. There was a camera ban in effect since last September. And we did fight that, us and other media organizations, and it was not successful. But we would hope that there would be cameras in Chad's hearing. Maybe what would be the difference? Well, the one thing with Lori's is that you still had Chad's trial after the fact. So the judge was concerned that people could see that. And
I can't help it either.
That could taint a jury. Well, now this is the last trial as far as these cases are concerned. So he just might. So that's we're waiting. We're waiting to see if Chad's will be live streamed. Okay, somebody else. Thanks to my friend Peggy who's sending me questions. Cindy, please go over how we get seats in the courtroom next Monday. You show up and you cross your fingers and say your prayers and hope. There's not a lot of seats. There's no ticketing system like the trial. You just show up, and it's first come, first serve. After the families have been seated, after law enforcement have been seated, after court personnel, after victims' families, all of those, they will then say, all right, we've got 20 seats left, 30 seats left. Take the first 20 in line. There's no overflow room. so you can't go in and watch it. There's no broadcast
Hookers
except
fights.
your phones and your TVs. Everyone can watch it from everywhere. So
That is true. She does
that's how it goes.
retract.
Somebody asked if they could spend the night on the
Silences
courtroom steps.
people.
I don't know. I
That's
know in
part of
Ada
her
County,
victimization. That's a good.
the day before the verdict, we had discussed that, and we were told that that was not allowed due to city ordinance, city
I
permit.
can't afford
So
it.
I don't know. Again, I would advise that if you want to really, really come, you're going to have to get there early. Maybe sleep in your car. I'm not sure. Any word from Tammy's kids? No, they've remained quiet. They could speak at Lori's sentencing if they wanted, because they are considered
Yep.
victims because their mom died. So siblings and children are considered victims, but they are not on the victim list. They did not attend any of Lori's trial, and I have heard that they still are in strong communication with their father. That they talk with him, and that they they're close with him. And someone just said that they go to their grandmother's funeral. I believe they watched virtually. I don't think that they went in person. Is Chad's trial at Fremont or Madison? As of now, if the change of venue order still holds, it's in Ada County. It's in Boise. And in fact, that's one of the reasons that it was scheduled so far out, is because they have to coordinate all of the other trials in Boise. And by the way, someone just said, where's the hearing? We're waiting for it. We're waiting for it. They're having technical issues on the court end, so it should be up here any moment. The second it happens, I'm going to shut my mouth and we're going to cut right over to it. But they're working on it. So the second it happens, we'll go to it. But yeah, Chad's trial will be in Ada County and Boise. I guess that the prosecution could argue again to bring it back to Fremont or Madison County. The whole issue that it was moved there in the first place, the whole reason is because there was an argument that you couldn't get a fair and unbiased jury in Fremont County. So if it was held in Eastern Idaho, it would be in Fremont, the same courthouse where Lori will be sentenced. So the trial would move out there. If he's found guilty, the sentencing would actually happen there because it's a death penalty case. It wouldn't be like this, and we would know the sentence right away. In a death penalty case, if you're found guilty of first-degree murder, there's only two options: death or life in prison. That's it. And the jury decides. So it's not going to be like Lori, who was found guilty in May, and then here we are, end of July, when she gets her sentence. So why did it take so long? Well, in all of these felony cases, there's pre-sentence reports that are done. A pre-sentence investigator is assigned to take on the case, to go interview Lori if she decides to speak, to go basically get every little fact you can about the case, about the defendant, about everything, and then prepare a big report and give that to the judge. The prosecutor gets it, the defense gets it, and read through what this pre-sentence report found. And the judge uses that to determine his sentence. If you have a sex offender who they go and do this PSI, this pre-sentence report with him, and there are major signs that this person is likely to commit again, well, the judge needs to know that. Those PSI reports are sealed forever. We'll never get Lori Vallow's PSI report unless somebody leaks it to us, and it'd have to be somebody high up, in the court system. So we don't know what it'll say. We don't know if Lori cooperated with the PSI investigator. We don't know what's in there. The judge, I should say, the judge could reference it during sentencing. So could the prosecutor or defense attorney. I've covered sentencings where that's happened, but they don't go in and read it. Somebody asked, will Lori, Pamela says, is the death penalty on the table for Lori in Arizona? No, because she's not charged with first-degree murder there. It would need to be first-degree murder. Because of that, I believe she could still face life, but not the death penalty. Death penalty is an option in Arizona for other crimes. They are a state that still has the death penalty, but not on a conspiracy charge. All right, we're going on 20 minutes here, waiting for the hearing to start. I'm told it's still happening, just tech issues. So stand by with us. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you're just tuning in, let me know where you're at and what you had for breakfast, because that's something we can talk about. Just one moment. I'm just sending a text here to be sure we're still on.
KJ, you don't need to be
And
private right now.
I think that the issue is everybody's ready. They're just having a problem getting the live stream going, getting it on the channel. So
Thank you.
once that happens, we'll bring it to you. All right. Hey, I got an answer. I had coffee for breakfast. Adrian, you need some nourishment. Don't they say breakfast is the most important meal of the day?
Well,
Adrian, thanks for your comment. I had egg. This is me. I had egg whites, piece of toast. Kind of boring. All right. What does Chad think about this? That's a question that someone just asked. I'm told we will be live here.
Oh,
We
great.
are on live. Let's cut over to the hearing.
Okay.
If you hit home,
I'm trying. Put me in some balls.
it's on.
Where's this page go?
Yep. Go to home.
We're live.
Oh. Okay. Look at this heifer in her freaking shirt. Oh, yay. All right, let me shut up.
All right, as we get started here, Madam Clerk, have you confirmed that, number one, we're streaming live, and have they had enough time to disable the comment feature they were going to do?
We are going live, we are live, and chat is disabled, yes.
Okay. All right, we will go on the record then. This is KCR 22-21-1624, State of Idaho versus Lori Vallow Daybell. This is the time scheduled for a hearing on a motion filed by the defense entitled "The Motion to Clarify Victim and Notice of Hearing." We're live streaming this on the court's official YouTube channel for public access due to the shortened nature of time to prepare for this hearing. And representing the state, Rob Wood and Lindsay Blake. Mr. Archibald represents the defendant who is present here, and Mr. Thomas as well. We are, as I mentioned, live streaming this and also keeping a record through the court reporter that's present. Court's received and reviewed the motion. Let me just inquire first of counsel. Mr. Archibald, are you ready to proceed and offer argument in support of the motion?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, and who will be arguing on behalf of the state? Is that you, Ms. Blake?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Blake, are you ready to proceed as well?
Yes.
Okay. The court would note that the sentencing is scheduled for Monday in this case, and ahead of sentencing, the court's received requests through certain people to offer victim impact statements as permitted by Idaho Code Section 1953-06, the Victims' Rights Statute, as well as the Idaho Constitution, Article 1, Section 22. There's been a request to have a hearing to discuss whether or not some particular people would qualify under those provisions. And so, Mr. Archibald, I've reviewed your motion. If you'd like to argue in support of the motion at this time, you can do so.
Thank you, Your Honor. As the motion indicates, a person by the name of Vicky Hoban, I don't know if I'm saying that right, but she has petitioned the court to be considered a victim, as she is Tammy Daybell's aunt. I think the court initially denied that, not knowing who she was, and then reconsidered and granted it. I think the court granted it partly because we didn't know who on behalf of Tammy Daybell would speak. Now that the pre-sentence report has been received, we find that Tammy Daybell's sister, Samantha Gwilliam, has submitted a statement, and Tammy Daybell's father, Ron Douglas, has submitted a statement. In Ron Douglas's statement, he specifically says that he's writing on behalf of myself and my now deceased wife. So Tammy Daybell's mother passed away after Tammy did. And so Vicky Hoban wants to take the place of Tammy's mother by by claiming to be a victim and wanting to be heard by the court as a victim. I don't think the law allows that. I think the law specifically excludes aunt. And so if Tammy Daybell had no one speaking on her family's behalf, that I think the court's current order would be appropriate. But now that Tammy Daybell's sister and father have now spoken, and Tammy Daybell's father specifically stating, I'm writing on behalf of myself and my now deceased wife, I think that there's no provision for the court to consider an aunt as a victim able to speak on behalf of the Tammy Daybell family. So I know she's interested in the case. I don't know her personally. I don't have anything against her. I'm merely asserting the law, and the law, I believe, does not allow this. So I'd ask the court to reconsider or amend its order prohibiting a victim impact statement from Vicki Hoban. I see that after I filed this motion, we actually received her statement, though it is now submitted to the court and would need to be stricken. I don't have anything else.
All right, thank you, Mr. Archibald. Ms. Blake, what's the response from the state on the motion?
Thank you, Your Honor. The state does recognize that anytime we're dealing with victims' rights, oftentimes there are some unique issues that come up because we have a statute, we have the Constitution, but they're ever evolving and being interpreted by the higher courts. We also recognize this court has turned to a Idaho court decision to assist in making a determination as to who should be considered victims with regard to a homicide. I think some of this has been a matter of first impression for the court. There are several victims that had wanted to make a victim impact statement, and I think the court went through an analysis in determining who would be able to and who wouldn't be able to. So the state recognizes that there are some individuals that would consider themselves victims that have not been allowed to make a statement. I think there are a lot of interested parties in this case, a lot of individuals that have suffered some form of harm in whatever form that may be from the acts that occurred in this case. With regard to this particular motion, I think the state is really without a legal basis to make any kind of an objection or argument one way or the other. So on this issue, we will simply leave it to the court's discretion while we recognize that this is a somewhat a matter of first impression to at least some degree. We'll leave it to the court's discretion for that determination.
All right, so to clarify, Ms. Blake, you're not stipulating to me granting the motion, is that correct? You're just arguing that you don't believe you have grounds to object to it, or I guess I do want to further kind of pin you down on the state's position here, whether it's a stipulation that the motion should be granted or just simply leaving to the court's discretion and let me sort it out.
Yes, Your Honor, the state would not be stipulating. I think we're in that unique situation where the state does not technically represent the victims in the case any more so than as part of the general public for our representation. So we're always in a little bit of a precarious situation when it does come to victims' rights and what positions the state can take, what arguments we can make. But as far as the motion brought by Mr. Archibald, I don't think there's a legal basis for the state to make any kind of an objection. So we're not stipulating to it. We're simply leaving it in the court's discretion.
All right, I appreciate your argument then. Mr. Archibald, would you like to offer any rebuttal argument?
No, Your Honor.
All right. I've been researching the issue, obviously, for some time in this case since it came up. The court, as it notes, is constrained in some ways through the Idaho case law, as well as the Article 1, Section 22 of the Idaho Constitution and the Victims' Rights Statute under Idaho Code 5306. And in this case, the court received a request initially, I believe coming through, not necessarily from the state, but through the prosecutor's office, of a individual indicating they wish to make an impact statement, Vicky Hoban. And the court went through an analysis and entered an order allowing for her to give a statement. The court initially was under the impression that there were not going to be any statements made on behalf of the deceased victim, in this case, Tammy Daybell. And at this point, there are apparently family members that qualify, including her sister, Samantha Williams, and her father, Ron Douglas, who will make statements. So then the question becomes whether or not that changes the rationale, or whether the court would permit or allow Vicky Hoban to make an impact statement. As an initial point, I would indicate that by making these rulings and determinations, the court has never tried to minimize or not understand how far-reaching the impact can be in a murder case for family members, friends, associates, others that knew victims of this particular crime. Idaho does, however, have limitations on who's permitted the rights under the victim rights statute and the Constitution, because they essentially get some privileges that wouldn't otherwise be afforded to normal people without those privileges, such as being able to make a statement without being required to be placed under oath or cross-examined on the statement. The court would note there's a policy behind allowing victims to be heard. One case that the court considered is a case called State versus Leon, 142 Idaho 705. And the issue is a little bit different there, talking about whether or not a DVD or video presentation was permissible as part of a victim impact statement. And really the focus in that case was on what it means to be heard. Under Idaho Code 195306E, the court, the victim statute does indicate the term heard, that a victim has a right to be heard. So I'll note that this is just by analogy, but some of the language in that talks about, in that case, the discretion, the victim's right to be heard conforms with the discretion traditionally afforded a trial court to consider a wide range of information at sentencing. Says it's fundamental that a sentencing court may properly conduct an inquiry broad in scope, largely unlimited, either as to the kind of information it may consider or the source from which it may come. And that cites a case, Payne versus Tennessee, and also Mattson 123 Idaho 625. This is the State Leon case. Further goes on to state the sentencing judge is presumably able to ascertain the relevancy and reliability of the broad range of information and material which may be presented to it during the sentencing process, and to disregard the irrelevant and unreliable. And the information conveyed by a victim exercising his or her right to be heard serves this purpose by relating the victim's personal characteristics and the impact of the murder on the victim's family. And that cites again to the State versus Payne case. And then finally, victim impact information gives the court knowledge that is helpful for determining the proper punishment and prevents relegation of the victim to the status of a, quote, faceless stranger. So there's certainly a policy that applies towards letting those that would be designated as victims to make impact statements. The technical issue here is who qualifies and who is allowed to be a victim pursuant to the statute in this case. Under Idaho Code 195306E3, that indicates that the court may designate a representative from the immediate family to exercise these rights on behalf of a deceased, incapacitated, or minor victim. In this case, the court has already made a ruling that Vicky Hoban is not technically a victim. What she would be pursuant to the court's order was a designated representative under Idaho Code 1950-306E, and the designated representative of Tammy Daybell'S now deceased mother. When I look at the language of the statute and the case law, what I don't find is any limiting language stating that this designation of a representative can only apply if there's an absence of anyone else to make a statement. There's nothing in the statute that indicates that a designated representative has to only be appointed under certain circumstances, such as the unavailability of anyone else to make a statement. And what it does indicate is that there can only be one designated representative for an immediate family, because it is in the singular that the court may designate a representative from the immediate family. But there's no mutually exclusive language in any case law I've seen stating that once there is an immediate family member, then designation of a representative is not permitted. And so when I consider the broad-ranging policies of allowing victims to make statements here, and I'll note that some of the Idaho case law is more stringent, I think, in a capital case where the jurors make the ultimate determination. I do believe the case law supports that a trial court judge has some broader discretion in considering relevant and pertinent information for sentencing, such as was stated in that State versus Leon case. So without finding any case law or statutory language that makes the appointment of a designated representative mutually exclusive, and I do think this is probably a case of first impression in Idaho, I am going to deny the motion and allow that Vicki Hoban's statement may be considered as a victim impact statement. Not that she's the victim, but she is the designated appointed representative of Tammy Daybell'S mother, who is now deceased. And so in the absence of any other authority that's been cited to the court or any statutory language, I don't believe it's error to permit that statement to be made. I will, however, leave it up to the discretion, of course, of the prosecution as to whether or not you think she should make any further comment or statement at the sentencing hearing, or whether the court would consider the addendum to the PSI, which was submitted as a written statement, which I do consider to be permissible given this analysis. So the ruling is I am going to deny the motion and will permit her as a designated representative to provide a statement in support of sentencing. That'll be the ruling then on the motion. Unless there's any questions from council, I think that will conclude the matters we needed to argue this morning. Mr. Archibald, anything further from the defense then this morning?
No.
All right, does the state have anything further to bring up, Ms. Blake?
Your Honor, maybe just for clarification, the court had indicated something would be up to the state with regard to additional statements.
Yeah, in other words, I don't know if she's going to make an in-person statement during sentencing or not. And that's just up to the state to advise her based on my ruling as to whether or not. I don't even know if she intends to do that.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. And I don't know, we can get an answer for the court of what her intention is.
All right, council, one last thing while we're on the line then here. We do have sentencing scheduled for Monday. I'm anticipating and have planned that we'll get that done in a day. Is it looking, from your estimation of what's going to occur, like you think we'll be able to conclude that in a one-day hearing? Let me start with maybe you, Mr. Wood.
Yes, Your Honor, I believe we'll be able to do one day.
All right. Mr. Archibald or Mr. Thomas, do you think we're able to get sentencing concluded in a day?
Yes.
Okay, well, I appreciate your input on that. We don't need to necessarily stop at the end of normal business hours if it's going to take longer. I just think it becomes a lot more planning necessary and interferes with other calendared issues if we go further. So We will plan on starting on time, and I'll see council then in court this Monday for sentencing. We'll be in recess.
Okay, hold on. Get rid of that. Oh, wait. Hold on. Remove. Remove yourself. What? I don't even know. I'm too busy watching the comments, so every now and then I would look at the hooker. But smug as a bug in a rug, you know. Let me see what Nate's got going on over there in his neighborhood. I think he didn't do an after show. Okay, let me X that out and let me come back to you. What the heck do y'all think? Double speak much? Yeah, I think so. I'm glad. But this is, again, something we shouldn't even be here for. This should not even be a thing. Yet here we are. Yet here we are. Yeah, please hit the like button. Please help grow this platform. I'm going to continue to research the difficult issues, what went into making my aunt murder my nephew, my cousin, my uncle, basically my old life. She murdered that. And this new norm is crazy. Absolute batshit bonkers. What crazy. And I can't speak for the rest of my family members. I try not to, but I can only imagine. You know, it shouldn't be put on my mom. I'm not going to burden my mother with her reading my statement. I want to do that. That's something that I should be able to do. That is something that Larry should be able to do. And if aunts weren't a thing, Lori would not have even adopted JJ. She was an aunt at one point when she overtly, in my opinion, overtly adopted JJ, only to murder him and bury, you know, him being found in a buried in a shallow grave on her side piece's property while his wife was still alive, mind you, with her sister in parts. I mean, with his sister in parts sprinkled across his land there, you know. It doesn't add up. And I don't think that this is fair by far. And it's definitely not fair for the victims. It's definitely not fair for our family members who are having to put up with this bullshit. It's not right. Ain't nothing about it right. It's just, I don't know. There's so many issues that the oh my God, the wound is never able to heal. The wound is fresh and it just continues to not be able to heal because it continues to be scraped, you know, and so you can't heal, and not all the way. Thank God I have you guys. Because without y'all, I don't know where I'd be. You know, you guys let me just kind of, I mean, we explore some really dark shit, but hello, they are dark people with sick minds, you know, and nowhere is that right. And that's what we must do as humanity, you know, is just fight for the rights, fight for our children for sure. Yeah, BOYCE's rules are prehistoric. He's a dinosaur. Who is she to say who the victims are when she's a exactly my point. There's this thing, I don't know what it is, but I'm like, okay, when you get it all into the semantics of it all, and that's what this is, it's semantics. It's they love doing labels. They love defining things, usually by a totally different definition. And although BOYCE may not be Mormon anymore or practicing, I don't know his status in the church, as I shouldn't. It shouldn't be just one of those things, you know. But in a highly populated, Mormon influenced demographic, you know, he's still influenced by them, whether he wants to admit it or not. It is what it is. Doesn't make him right or wrong or good or bad or nothing like that. It's just, it is what it is. The fact of the matter. That's why we're not having, you know, they're not doing the jury pool from there. Hello, you know, I mean, it's the same. So you have this one juror, basically the judge, making these decisions from that concentration of people. And it often, this feels like the very people who murdered my family members are the same people carrying out the justice. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm saying that right. The very people that murdered them for their beliefs, the belief part of it, the justification, the semantics of it all, are the very people handling the, in my opinion, the miscarriage of justice, because that's what it is. That's for me. That's my perspective. For those joining for the first time, if I may state, Crusha is difficult research. Crusha is Charles and Lori's. Crusha is Charles and Lori's. JJ and Tylee's, well, semantics. Tylee was the same age as my kids, you know, like in between the ages of my kids. So, you know how it's like, I met her when I was an adult and I already had kids. And so she was 3. She's technically my step cousin. I never looked at her like that, you know. I looked at her like one of my kids. But, and Charles was my uncle. Charles and Lori adopted my nephew, my only biological nephew. JJ was born to my brother Todd, and JJ's mother, biological mother, passed away last June. Because this shit kills. Grief, you know, it is a ripple effect. And always, I never forget, I never let this go far away from my mind, that Charles and Lori attempted to adopt Mandy's second child, who was not my brother's, but was JJ's half sister. She was going to name her Tabitha. I remember that. I remember it not going through. It fell through, the adoption. Thank God, because would there have been 3 holes? Would there be some more aunts or, you know, there'd be definitely more victims. It seems like, in a way, it's like Lori preyed on my family. And I mean that not in a P-R-A-Y, in a P-R-E-Y kind of way. She tricked us out completely. I feel violated by the fact that she has my whole lineage. You know, I've got the screenshots from her computer that my mom had sent me, because at that same time in 2018, I just so happened to be digging, you know, researching Ancestry.com, which is weird. I'm not Mormon, but, you know, hey, turns out there's some of us that just want to know. I stopped after that because this happened. But yeah, so mom had sent me screenshots of the Mac computer. They're live photos too, which I was like, oh shit, you know, you push them for like 2 seconds, they play a little sound clip. And I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. So the very thing that Lori was using to send a chat, to rate my family, to LDS pimp us out, spiritually, however you look at it, ancestrally, I don't know how you, it's so unique. But they're so obsessed with baptizing the dead. It's like, leave my effing family alone. Drop the name, please. hurry, drop, and go back to Cox. I'm with whomever said that earlier. Yeah, go back to your roots, girl. we all gonna be going back to our roots. Lori especially, in more ways than one. But it just doesn't make any sense to me. None of it does. And I don't know if it's supposed to or not, you know. I'm trying to open something that I had opened the other day, or this morning. Sorry. Come on. Refresh. And go home. All right. Hold on. Just 1 second. Well, hell. Let me save it. It might not be saved in my phone, which means it may not have updated, so it'll transfer over to this. Just give me 1 sec. Thank y'all for being here, by the way. Okay, here it is. I was looking at the wrong thing, of course. Okay, let me go and share this real quick. It was just me. I dig. That's what I do. That's what I do. Share screen. Okay, so this is like tips for family members when someone you love is the victim of crime. The effects of crime and trauma are far-reaching. They touch not only the life of the victim, but also those they love. When someone becomes a victim of crime, it is often a life-changing event for the entire family. It's a new experience into uncharted territory. Everyone involved may find that they are challenged as relationships stretch and grow into a new way of being. It is natural to want to fix things for someone you love, or to want to make everything better. However, each person's journey after a crime is a unique experience that, in the end, only they can truly travel. They must walk down that road in their own way, at their own pace. It's not your responsibility to fix things or heal them. It's far more beneficial for you to be present, with them through their journey, offering them empathy, patience, compassion, and support. And I'm just going to say, just a listening ear. Don't try to fix it. Just be there, you know. How to support a loved one who has been a victim of crime. Don't take things personally. Ask what you can do to help. Don't assume that you know. Please, everybody does that. Not everybody, but a lot of people just assume things. You know, it's okay. It's a learning process. For myself, big time. Each person's needs are different after a crime occurs. Be willing to be open to what they want, even if it doesn't make sense to you. Oh God, I asked this a lot of you guys. I'm like, I know this is crazy, but it's not my crazy. It's not your crazy. So let's explore. Try to remember that your loved one has been through a very traumatic event, and each person deals with things differently. They may not react in the same way that you would. They may want to be alone most of the time. That's this one right here. Or they may never want to be left alone. Used to be me. They may not want to talk about the crime, or they may want to talk about the crime all the time. That's me, all the time. Blah, blah, blah. Each person reacts differently to trauma, and there is no right or wrong. Don't be afraid of silence or feel that you always need to fill empty space with words. Okay, that's me. You don't always have to say something to try and make them feel better. Sometimes they may not want to feel better. They may just need your presence. Allow them to choose who they want to tell about the crime and when. Being a victim of a crime is a very personal event in one's life, especially in the beginning, and it is not necessarily something they may want others to know about. Oh, I gotta fix this. It's driving me nuts. That's not right. Y'all, I'm sorry. A little OCD. Just a little, just to add to the acronyms. Okay, especially in the beginning, it is not necessarily something that, okay. Over time, some survivors find it Okay, I still misspelled it. Okay. Over time, some survivors find it very empowering to share their story with others. I do. That's what this community is. That's what you guys are to me. Oh my God. Saving grace. Um, while others, while some people prefer not to. It's a very individual, private choice. Create space for them to feel whatever emotions they are experiencing. Thank you. Allow them to cry or to be full of rage. They may question their religious beliefs or be angry at God. They may want to forgive the offender, or they may want the offender to spend the rest of their life in jail. Try to listen and be present while refraining from judging their feelings. Remember that they are still a whole, complete person, not just a crime victim. The victimization is something that happened to them and is part of their experience, but is not who they are. Okay, coping tips for family members. While trying to help someone you love through a difficult time, it can be easy to ignore your own needs. However, in order to be able to be there for them, you also need to take care of yourself as well. I'm telling myself this because I suck at it. Make sure that you're getting enough rest, eating regular meals. And I probably gave myself diabetes, I'm sure. And that you have people in your life to talk to when you need support. It can be easy to feel guilty or blame yourself for not being able to protect your loved one from the crime. Try not to get too caught up in these thoughts. As it is impossible to predict events in life, consider finding a counselor to talk to if you continue to struggle with these feelings. Become familiar with the effects of trauma so that you can recognize symptoms of shock and learn to identify certain triggers, such as holidays, anniversaries, or other circumstances that may remind them of the crime. While you cannot fix these things, it is helpful to understand them and be able to prepare for them. It would also be beneficial to become familiar with local resources in your area. Or unless you call them and they're like, oh no, you're an aunt. You don't qualify. You're not worthy. It's rejection. Oh my God. I'm a little triggered by this. I understand boundaries, but I'm like, really? We're very technical. It would also be beneficial to become familiar. Not only that, I'm just going to say in the public eye, I'm not recognized like my parents are. I've had people reach out to me and say, no, they just reach out, go right over. And they're like, hey, tell your mom and dad, and I'm like, it's very nice, it's sweet, but I don't even know if they realize that they're just like ghosting me in the process or whatever. It's been very real and just like, whoa. It's and not that I'm like me, it's not that. I'm just pointing that out. I mean, I don't know how to be aware of something unless you point it out, and I wonder how many times I've done that, so it makes you think. It would also be beneficial to become familiar with local resources in your area, such as counseling service and victim advocates that you can turn to for additional support, help with answering questions, or guidance through the criminal justice process. If there is a criminal proceeding, be aware that not all of your loved one's symptoms will go away when the legal process ends. Amen. For many victims of crime, the end of the court proceedings is only the beginning of the journey for them, right? That's another thing in this, is that part. It's like that chapter says it has to be done. Like it says end of chapter for her sentencing. However, I'm having a hard time adapting to those shifts, if you know what I mean, like the changes in that. Very real. You wonder if, even since the trial, when she was, the jury rendered her guilty, and everyone kind of just probably had to go debrief for a little while, take care of yourself, but it kind of was one of those, okay, yeah, this is going to happen. People are going to This is going to fade. Every case does. It's just the reality of it, but it's hard reality for me to get accustomed to. Again, it's always adjusting and readjusting and resilience, Many times there is a certain energy that carries them through the criminal justice process. Okay, here we go. And then once that is over, they are left with the feeling of not knowing what to do next. Holy crap, right. The criminal justice process is only one small part of the journey toward healing for the victims of crime. Oh my gosh. Okay. I just copied and pasted it. So it says the impact of crime. Crime victims often suffer a broad range of psychological and social injuries that persist long after their physical wounds have healed. Intense feelings of anger, fear, isolation. I'm going to say the fear part. And anger, that is where, because the inner circle, the circle jerks, because there are no other arrests, I very much was going to include, I'm talking to them. I'm talking to everybody, like I was going to address the court. It wasn't just going to be to Lori. I'm guilty. I am not scared to say it either. Maybe take what you need. It's not about everybody. Trust me, I've already played that game and try to play it as best as I can to keep everyone's feelings in mind while raging, like while trying to address issues, because they are disturbing issues. There are so many, and some people don't like to hear it. And it shows. You can tell. I'm sorry if what I say is something hard for you to hear. And I say that for myself too, because it's not as hard as it was for Tylee, JJ, and Tammy, Joe, or Charles. It was that's hard. And if they can go through what they went through and die the way that they died, with the one person that they trusted the most, and Chad, Tammy, I mean, good God, then I can get over myself. That's how I look at it. I can get the F over myself and learn everything I can about it, explore it. Let me clear my throat. Anyways, just explore. There's so many things that factor into this, and the fact that it's not just Chad and Lori, that there are, what about the rest of them? There's a lot. And again, Donna, I saw Donna had commented on that video. I was like, I liked it. With Latter-day Media, preparing a people folk. They're going over Visions of Glory, which I'm going to do pre-records. I was ready to do pre-record yesterday, but Jason decided to mow and mow and mow and mow. And I was like, sitting here, I was like, doo-doo-doo. And then it just kept going and going. And I was like, oh my God, is he ever going to finish mowing? So, and then by that time, I was like, well, the mood has changed. Anyways, our yard looks good. I love my babe. But, it's those little things. It's so hard for the planets to line up. My mood, just me to even talk at a camera without a live audience on the other side of it. It's weird how I can't, some of those things bother me, I feel like I'm talking to myself. But there's more. And then maybe those people should tune out. If I were to be there, if I were to be at the hearing, if I were able and allowed to speak my truth, my journey in this, it's just as important as Larry's, as Mom's, as Summer's, as Vicky Hoban, not Hoban. Anyways, I'm just assuming. I don't know who would say Hoban, but anyways, I'll die if it's Hoban. I'm sorry. But anyways, it's ridiculous that we're even to this point. How did we get here? And how do we continue coming to these talk points, these areas where the red flag, you're like, yep, okay, let's put a pin in that. Let's address that. Let's address this. There's so many things that need to be addressed, and they will. Trust me, my mom and Larry, they've been working on something really big for this entire time, and that would impact federal law. So that's pretty big, and I'm really proud of that. Proud of them. I mean, Jen has even tried passing a bill. I want to say it was in Charles's name in Utah, but it died. The bill, and I was just so honored by that. Just like Gannon, Stout. Amber Alert. All these. That's Amber was a little girl that was abducted. All these laws, they shouldn't have a child's name attached to them or a victim's name attached to them, yet they do, because that's the only thing that really can move. If there's anything that can move somebody, it is murder. It is the taking the innocent life from a human being, especially a child, and that is just beyond anything I can conceive. And that's beyond we can't perceive, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Conceive or perceive, whatever it is, fill in the blank. But it's hard to wrap your head around that kind of stuff because we don't think like that. We protect our children. I'm not saying I was the best mom or the best sister or the best daughter or the best wife or fiance, but I'm doing the best I can with what I have, what I've been through, what I've learned. And I think that's the only thing that we can really do as a society, as a human being, is just do the best to be your best. Whoa, made the lights dim. Lori, stop. Lower her. All right. We're having like some little power surges again. Fun times, but just do your best, be your best self, and then everything else will fall into place, because then if you're putting your best foot forward, you're doing the best you can. All we can do is learn. Let's see. Oh my God. All right. Crime victims often suffer a broad range of psychological and social injuries that persist long after their physical wounds have healed. Intense feelings of anger, fear, isolation, low self-esteem, helplessness, and depression are common reactions. Like combat veterans, crime victims may suffer from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, including recurrent memories of the incident, sleep disturbances, feelings of alienation, emotional numbing, that's me, and other anxiety-related symptoms. Totally. Jen Bullman suggests that victimization can shatter basic assumptions about the self and the world, which individuals need in order to function normally in their daily lives, that they are safe from harm, that the world is meaningful and just, and that they are good, decent people. I have a hard time finding meaning again. Like things that I used to do and find interesting, I don't even know what that is anymore. This is what I find interesting. This is what I research. This is my way of grieving. This happens not only to the victims of violent assaults, but also victims of robbery and burglary and other, and that's happened to my aunt, actually. She worked at a bank. Sending love to you, Aunt Terry, if you're listening. And to their other friends and family Herman has suggested that survivors of prolonged repeated trauma, such as battered women and abused children, often suffer what she calls complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which can manifest as severe personality changes, including deformations of relatedness and identity, which make them particularly vulnerable to repeated harm, both self-inflicted and at the hands of others. Wow. The emotional damage and social isolation caused by victimization also may be compounded by a lack of support and even stigmatization from friends, family members, and social institutions. So this is, YouTube. This is every creator covering the story. Other family members. This is big. It's very noticeable. When you do see it happen, you're like, oh, okay. Wonder why they think like that, or Okay. All right. It says that can become a second wound for the victim. Those closest to the victim may be traumatized by the crime in ways that make them unsupportive of the victim's needs. Davis, Taylor, and Bench found that close friends and family members, particularly of a victim of assault, sometimes withdraw from and blame the victim. Crime victims must also contend with society's tendency to blame them for the crime, which compounds the trauma of the event. I'm going to repeat that. Crime victims must also contend with society's tendency to blame them for the crime, which compounds the trauma of the event. To protect their belief in a just world where people get what they deserve and to distance themselves from the possibility of random or uncontrollable injury, many prefer to see victims as somehow responsible for their fate. The lack of support for victims trying to recover from a crime can exacerbate the psychological harm caused by victimization and make recovery even more difficult. That's a channel name. When victims do seek help, they may be treated with insensitivity. They may feel ignored or even re-victimized by the criminal justice process, which has traditionally been more concerned with the rights of the accused than with the rights and the needs of the victim. Family members of homicide victims, in particular, may feel left out of the justice process. When one woman whose child had been murdered asked to be informed as the case progressed, she was asked, "Why do you want to know? You're not involved in the case. Are you effing serious?" Oh my God. And so that's just, I didn't write it. These are other people's, and I forgot to grab the links to be able to share that with y'all. I'll have to put them in the description box later. But anyways, thank y'all for hanging around just to hear, the little tidbit right there. It's just very much apparent, it's very real. It's very, it's, it is what it is. All we can do is make the best of it. And, I don't think so. Maybe, and there's people out there, of course. There are people out there who have done this and not to the social public eye status, which it's insult to injury. It's a double-edged sword, of course. It's like I'm glad that it's out there because their stories need to be told correctly. Would be great if they were told correctly. That would make a big difference. I'm not liking the live dimming like they're doing. It's like, but thank you, Donna. I love y'all too. I know that's the only way I'm here. It's just I think about those people who their stories have not made it in the public eye, or even back before the internet. You think about all those cases, and you're just like, how in the hell did they do this alone? Of course, they didn't have all the, I get it. Like all the technological advancement stuff, so I don't know. It just, things are corrupt. The justice system is broken. It needs a fixing. There's a lot of things that need fixing or need to be addressed. They need to at least be made aware that these issues do exist in a corporate church. Yeah, sorry, you're not exalted from responsibility and culpability. You must be accountable for what you are producing, because this is not the only, Chad and Lori are not the first to be labeled a cult offshoot. Everyone that goes rogue and gets a little too much on the radar, ooh, label, slap a label, hurry, distance. We have no affiliation with them, and so we just won't speak about it. Sound familiar? Sounds just like what Lori, how she's treated everything. Just it doesn't exist. I will not talk. She won't talk. That's part of her narcissism, is silence. That is what happens to someone when they're leaving the church, when they, decide to, when they have a faith crisis even. It's like they shun, okay? Shunning is real, and that is a very hard victimization, form of victimization. Silence is their weapon. They are going to remove the love bomb, that they normally do. Lori does that very well. So I think the channel name was Crime Chatter that was in here earlier, and they said that they think that Lori will be quiet, and I was like, now that you say that, yeah, it does sound right. She's not going to grace us with her voice. Yeah, oh God, yeah, totally, it is. I mean, I don't know why I did that. It's in a lot of ways. I remember Mom saying, I think in response to Mark Means before, I like Mark Means. At least he was man enough, lawyer enough to call the church to the mat. But you see what happened there, right? Shh, silence. I kill you. Yeah. That's pretty shitty. I think there should be a fair trial. It should be just. If it wasn't broken, then we wouldn't have all these issues. And I think all these other issues are brought up because when you tell a lie, you have to keep making more lies in order to support your lies, your previous lies, and then it just ends up being a clusterfuck. Okay, I'm just clusterfuck. Fuck is what it is. And it sucks that you don't realize these things are happening or even exist until you're actually either the criminal going through the justice system or you are the victim going through the justice system. Either way, it is flawed. Nobody wants to point it out. If they do, nobody wants, it just doesn't. You got to know people. You got to know people in the up and up positions, and then you got politicking, and then you have all this other shit that just muddies up your family members' memory. I mean, the memories I have of them, it tries its damnedest to muddy all that up for you, and so we do lose sight. Yeah, Lisa K. Gidget is missing her moon doggy's on. I hope my power will go out. Yeah, Nicole, I totally agree. They should get to say what they want to say. She was found guilty. I'd get the defense involved during the trial, but the evidence convicted her. Game on. Let me turn this off. Try and. Oh my God! I still didn't turn it off. It's one of those knobby ones. one of the old school, but it's new. But you know, the knob, anyways, and it's black, so I can really see. Yeah, I think that anybody. I mean, look, I watched Tristan Bailey's family and everything, and I was like, good God, there's a lot of people. I've researched these things. I've looked online. I've watched crime court TVs and things like that. And there were some very moving victim impact statements where one mother, her son was murdered by this young guy, and she had his picture in a photo frame. And at the hearing, she said her piece, and then the guy, the offender, the murderer, stood up and said that he was sorry. I'm not saying, just hear me out. And so she asked if she could hug him and that she would be there. And so they hugged, and that she would be there, and that not on her watch was there going to be another life ruined. She has helped him through his schooling. That gives me chills on my face. You know, it's like, that's humanity. You know, it's not me to decide the fate of a person who decided the fate of multiple people in my family. That's not my job. Mine is just to be as Christ-like as I can. Thank God that's not my job. Thank God. I can't handle it. You know, that would be too much on my plate. I'm not the judge. And I mean, of eternity, of your soul. I'm not, I don't know. Whomever they answer to. That's not my job. I don't know. It just seems like you can't go back. Nothing breathes life back into them. I'm not saying it's like a forgive, but I will never forget. I will never, ever forget. Ever. This is going to be with me the rest of my days. And it has impacted more than just me. It goes down to my kids and my bonus kids, my fiance, my friendships, everything. Murder impacts everything. It changes everything. It's not just a normal cycle of life or circle of life, whatever it is. It's not just, normal. Those are losses. I mean, right there, my grandma dying of, she was 92. That's a full life, in my opinion. She lived a full life. She was able to, live and marry and have children and grandchildren and great grandchildren. And I mean, that to me is a full life. On the other hand, there's Tylee, who just got her driver's license and had her job, and then shit was going crazy, and she was probably doing her best to ground herself and her mom and her brother, her whole world. Then there's JJ, who Uncle Charles said was just starting to, bathe himself and with Ducky. And he was doing all these independent things, independent of Lori. And him too, to some degree. Lori, Charles had told me a long time ago, whenever JJ and Todd, JJ met his real dad at my mama's house. I remember, and it was so insignificant then, but as we were walking out of the door, Uncle Charles was just, we were just like small talk, and he was like, I don't know. He was like, Lori just needs to be needed. And I mean, I didn't remember that till later, way later. And I was like, wow, yeah, she's a control freak. She's been micromanaged in her religion, in her home. Who's of this religion? This religion has destroyed it's destroyed a lot of things in my world. It's destroyed JJ, Tylee, Charles, Tammy, Joe, all the victims, and so many more that I don't even know that are here, that come by, that are doing, or they're on their own journey. They're trying to, find their way through this too. To me, the person reading the impact statement should not be questioned by the lawyers. The trial is over. Right. It sucks. It really does suck. Good. I love being stuck with you and Winnie. It's supposed to keep us safe, right? Siobhan says, y'all are all such better people than me. I'd jump the stand. Well, I'm not saying, hey, there were times I was like, oh my God. I think, at one point I wanted to just be like, call me. I had to physically be like, no, don't. I just want to know. I want a reaction. Or not, whatever. When I say it, I want to know. I want to read the situation. I already know, though. I already know. I love you too, KJ. Pain forever changes people, but the everyday people in your life that are genuine will look past how you are, no longer serving them the same and hang in there to keep even the pieces of you in theirs. That's beautiful. You are too. You're beautiful, Nicole. Thank you. Blind faith is dangerous. Amen. Just from this experience, and teach their own, of course, respectfully. From the grand scope of it all, I see organized religion as manipulative. It's damaging. It destroys people's faith in God, period. It turns them away from God because they think that this is God. That's why I've never found God in church. There are the people that they're the most hypocritical, in my opinion, the people that go to church. And it doesn't apply to everybody, just saying. And it makes you think, and then, reading the Mormon doctrine scriptures and from, the prophets present and in the past, they all contradict each other. They manipulate the stories from the Bible, and even that's how the Book of Mormon was even born. How it thrived is beyond me. I'm just like, how can something so effing false really just take on and still just be so wealthy today? So, holy shit, this is the wealthiest church in the United States of America. Rhea Lemony's gonna have to come out. Have to start a channel, Rhea Lemony channel. Gloria Fritz says this case would be over if Todd could walk to the podium. Yeah. But I even thought about that, because that's all Todd wanted to do from jump, was to just go and read a statement. And I know my brother, through his time being incarcerated, losing his son because he was incarcerated, because he did drugs, because he made bad choices. I see him, and I'm the same way, as far as just really being hard on yourself, never forgiving yourself. And I really hope that Todd finds a way to forgive himself. It is the last thing that my uncle talked to me about. How do we get to Todd? That's what he said. And I was like, I don't know. And that was in March of 2019, and Uncle Charles was murdered in July 11th, 2019. So I always, think about that, and how do we get to Todd? And we don't. We just are there. That's my job, is just to be there be the sister that he needs and deserves, and to be the aunt that I never was able to be to JJ, that I think that he deserves. That role was robbed from me via adoption, and then ultimately via murder, and now after murder, because you never qualify. An aunt, is just a piece of shit, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. To me, I see my aunts and uncles as extensions of my mother and my father. That's what they are. They all grew up in the same household, in the same generation. And so I look at them and they all have different personalities. And some, there's Uncle Jerry. He's like, they got the bitch, and he's just, I love that. Uncle Bobby, he can quote scripture, and I'm just like, oh my God, but he's Uncle Bobby. And they all have their own personalities. Aunt Susan, Aunt Terry, my mom, and then there was Uncle Charles. Uncle Charles was fun, corny, fun. He was fun. And he just always had a good attitude. And he loved my brother, and he loved JJ, and he loved Tylee. He loved Colby. He loved his kids. He loved his faith, family, and football. Totally. And I don't know. I'll catch her somewhere. Maybe Arizona. We're gonna have to start working on them. Yeah, Carla. Yeah, and this is another thing. Oh, Mom. Yeah, I'm just like, why do you endorse them? Why? Okay. A church that owns so many billions that they hid, and ask their members to come clean, do gardening, etc. for free, and wants members to pay for children's camp stuff is a scary cult. Yeah. I was listening to Nuance Ho, I think. Anyway, or Mormon Stories, and they were reading a quote. It had nothing to do with what they were talking about. I just caught it because I was, I listened, and it was like they read a quote from back in the day from like I forget which president. It was around the 1978 when they allowed black men to become priesthood holders. Okay. Oh, I love that you love to hear about Charles. I love that. Yeah, he was spot on. I was like, high five. Yeah. But yeah, so they were talking about President Hinckley back in the day, and it was something about how black priesthood holders in, mostly or predominantly black countries, how can they hold the priest? Anyways, but I heard from them quoting President Hinckley, they said something about how they needed to raise money for the temple. And I'm like, why the F do they need to raise money to build a temple? I mean, they got plenty of money. Why would you raise money? It just rubbed me wrong. And I was just like, that's crazy. Just, I don't know. And so Katie H always sends me articles, and I love every article she sends. I wish I could look into them all, but every now and then I catch a wave, And there's this town in Wyoming, I believe, that is being sued because they don't want the LDS church to build a temple there. And I mean, what? Why would you sue the community you're trying to build a temple in if they don't want you there? What the hell? It's just so bold. There's no respecter of persons. They're God. They are gods. That's how I see it. And you don't question gods. They don't follow by the same rules, the laws of the land. No. They find ways to poke holes in them and to exploit them, kind of like Judge Boyce with the victimization thing. What makes a victim? What defines a victim? Well, there's a loophole, and you best be sure that they know about it. And that's how they're going to determine how this goes, because they are in control. It's it's justifying things by the scripture. It's justifying things by law, if you know what I mean. It's the same thing, different subject, a different manner. So makes you wonder. Yeah, he's a softie, even though he acts like he's not. He's my padan, my godfather. He's my godfather. Right. I don't know if they can. I don't know. That's a question, that I have too. I know that mom will. I don't know what she can and I don't know what she can and cannot say. You never know. I don't know the guidelines. But again, we'll see after this is adjudicated and everything. I'd love to make when he said a video presentation, I was like, oh, okay, I can make one right now. Everybody send your videos in and we can just have one from around the world. To me, that would be poetic justice. If everybody would just be able to say one line to what she and Chad have done. I'll say allegedly for Chad, so I don't get my ass sued right now. But that's just a matter of time, Chatty boy. But just to have everyone say how this case has affected them, I don't know. There's so many things. I could have one, hear ye, a whole scroll could come out. Yeah. But then I'm like, well, can you dumb it down? I'm talking about, like, can you dumb it down enough for just the skin deep? Kind of like with Court TV and how they asked me to come on and I was like, sure, I'll come on. But, do you want just the regular run of the mill victim story or can I tell you the truth? And so I was up front with them and then my phone went silent. So there you go. Whatever. It is what it is. I really thank Luke at the Sun I didn't know he was going to put that as the forefront, and I was like, the rest of it sounds pretty cheesy, but that part, I'm just like, wow, I didn't realize how it is a big deal to have a Jesus card in your living room from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and they don't have any here. They're an hour and 15 minutes away. But anyways, Shar, Truth Seeker, may Todd give himself grace. I believe the system should change for drug usage, locked real rehabs with family reunification, therapy. Oh my God, I love that. I don't know, Rick. I don't know these acronyms, but I get you. Not jail. Yes, same with mentally, like that goes hand in hand with mentally ill. There's been times when my brother has nutted up, so to speak, and you don't want him to go to jail because it's a symptom, or it's because of the drug use. It's the drug, not him. It's I don't know. You control the drug or the drug controls you. It really sucks because I'm like, JJ, it took me a long time to even get okay with that, to be okay with him being adopted. I was just like, oh my God, no. I'm like, we can do this. I wasn't even thinking of JJ. I was thinking about me. How, no, when Mom and them were considering, Charles and Lori adopting JJ, I was just, no, we got this. We can do it. It was no harm, no foul. It was just like, no. Why is this even an issue? Why, anyways. And so I had to come to I even stopped talking to my mom. Like, I was pissed. I did not agree with it. I didn't agree with it because my brother was in jail. That's not cool, in my opinion. He's not standing on his 2 feet. How, to me, it seemed like a kick in the teeth when you're already down, insult to injury. And so everything on top of that has, in my opinion, been insult to injury for my brother and Mandy. Even though if they wouldn't have chose drugs and wouldn't have chose this road, JJ wouldn't have been there in the first place. You know, we can do that. You know, however far back you want to go, it goes really far back. And I mean, it just is what it is. However, it just doesn't seem fair to just be shitting on Todd and shitting on Mandy, you know, for decisions that they made. They didn't think that their kid would be murdered. You know, I'm sure they thought they could do a better job. He'd at least be alive, I'd say. So, Louisiana dropped the ball too, as far as adoption. And I'm going to be researching more into that. I'm scared too. I'm scared. You know how I just kind of, again, I'm not a nosy person. I research, I'm a digger, but I'm not like invasive, you know, I'm not like, I don't have a right to know or a need to know, you know, so I just kind of remember vaguely, you know, just the overtones of what people in my family, you know what I mean, like what was going on during the adoption and things like that, and how Todd and Mandy have reacted throughout this thing. And those things make me question things. I have screenshots of Mandy saying, I'm going to make sure this does not happen to another adopted child in Louisiana, or, you know, I mean, ever, anywhere. So I'm going to kind of pick up where she was going as far as the advocacy, and that there's so many other places of advocacy, just victims' rights, memorialization, getting their remains so we can bury them properly. Only Chad Daybell has had that privilege thus far. So, again, they have more rights than we do. It really is sad. Yeah. I don't judge them. My heart is with them, but at least JJ had a wonderful father and siblings that love him. The problem in the picture was Laura Hoare. Yes. Yeah, definitely agree with you on that. Chad needs a kick in the ass. And yeah, poor Tammy. She did not have a voice. I didn't hear her voice until trial day when the 911 call she made. She sounds just like her sister, by the way, which took me, it's not what I expected Tammy to sound like. 4 years. And I never heard the woman speak. And here she is being steadily silenced and just, you know, people F you, her kids. I mean, it's so sad. And that's all, in my opinion, it's comes from this religion. It's the toxic shit from this religion. In my opinion, in my experience, it just, So, anyways, she is silenced. She is totally silenced. And it really does suck. Yet I always think of her shoes, you know. Chad took up her physical soul and took her soul. Tried to, you know what I mean, snuffed her out. Yeah. Thank you, Kathy. Appreciate it. Appreciate you. Yeah. Oh, that's good, Janelle. You know, it's just sad. It really is. And Donna, you know, when she came on and before I got here, she was talking about being a librarian, how Tammy was a librarian. And I can remember Miss Harms was my librarian in elementary school. I remember her, Miss Harms. I know her name still, and I'm 45 years old, I think. 44, 45, 45. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people as you're growing up that you don't realize have that impact on you, but you know how she would read the books and you know, she, and then she would do like this, and yeah, this is how you, I lost the bookmark. But, and they definitely weren't reading Visions of Glory. Janelle, do you believe in Visions of Glory? I mean, are you all about the hype? Yeah, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I'm just curious. I'm a curious cat. I'm sure you know that. Yeah, like what to say to a loved one who does not believe. John says, any other questions? This is an interesting one. It says, my dad is dying and he has no understanding or a belief in an afterlife, despite my many times bearing testimony of these things. That right there. Because I have testified, my dad's supposed to believe. That's not how that works. No, okay. That's reaffirming. It's freaky. I mean, it's scary because this book, I mean, was basically like her Bible, you know? If you think about it, it was with her all the time. Okay, he says, what is the one or best thing I can do? What is the one or best thing I can say to him? So this is about a loved one who does not believe. Spencer has a long pause. He said, I would think the one best thing that you could do for him is to say, Dad, I love you, and my faith is big enough for both of us. And through my faith, you will see. And when you see, know I am open and you can come back at any time. And I am ready to learn from you. Yeah. You got to take it in the whole context, though. That really wasn't a good context. Anyways, holy shit. So this is what I'll do after I end this, which is, I know, 2 hours and 21 minutes. So, start a campaign to bring the children home. Mail, email, call the courts, prosecutors, defense, state, local, federal enforcement, and flood the streets and the attorney general. Yeah, I agree. Okay, we'll start working on that, huh, Donna? Donna, you have job security. We need to be a paying job one day. Okay, I know I'm not supposed to say that, but anyways, you're worth the money, Donna. It's worth $1 million. Anyways, yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna have to go back and watch her. Like, I usually can't pay attention, and it's a distraction, and I like it because that's my nervous cleaning type of thing. So I gotta be doing something when she's so triggering. They all looked pissed off, every one of them, and I like when she was looking up and somebody had written that she was dreaming of her old life. I was like, it looks like it. Yeah. At the very end, she, did a smirk or whatever. So I'm gonna have to go and look at that and really focus on her. Maybe so. Maybe so. I do. I don't know. And this is where I need people like you, Janelle, to align, so I can align myself. Because I think it's so much darker and deeper than that. And I mean, I don't know if it's maybe because I'm on the outside looking in, and it's, I comb through everything. I'm very thorough. I go over and over and over things to make sure, to even just kind of, because I mean, it's big. It's really big. And it goes all the way up to spirit, like a spiritual level, even. I don't know even how to say that, but like in the entire grand scheme of things, I don't know how to really put that without sounding gobbledygook. Yeah, I don't know. I really think there's something far more dark and far more sinister, as my uncle told me in my dream. So crazy. But if you ever, please email me. I'd email you, but I don't know your email address. It's Kresha0123@gmail.com. I'm going to type it in. I think I have it right. That's one of them. If you want to, don't feel pressure. But I think it would really help. It really would. I know it would. Yeah, no, she don't. It's the control to the very end. That's how I used to feel when I rode in airplanes. I was like, I am not. Hell no. I had an uncle die in a plane crash. His airplane, in Joplin, Missouri in 2001. And I was like, I've done things to overcome my fear. I've worked on airplanes. I've been an aircraft mechanic. And oh, I wish I was going, but I can't afford it. It's just too much, and then probably won't be anywhere to stay. I have to stay in a white tent. I always said have White Tent City. It's beautiful over there. But let me know how it goes. Anyways, crap, I forgot what I was saying. I don't know. I could just talk and talk and talk some days. Okay. So this is the other thing, right? And so there's a difference in a victim and a family member. How are we defining a family member as a victim? Do y'all see what I'm saying? I don't even know how to. There's a victim. There's some murderers who murder people that they're not related to. So, yeah. Well, that's very sweet, Janelle. Oh, Detective's daughter. I always have a place in Taterland. So sweet. I was nervous. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of people that reach out to you, and I mean, it's so nice and sweet. But I still, at the end of the day, do not know who anybody is. They know who I am. They know my name. They know my everything. Thank you, Shar. Oh, yeah. Okay, I see. Thank you. I say locked rehab. Okay. Kind of like a committal, but not. Okay. To avoid walkout. Recreational versus drugs. Job training. Yes. Communication skills, anger management, in-depth therapy, family reunification. Sorry for the semantics if you're on your family. It's not just that, too. It's a lot to learn. Maybe this is how other people do these kind of things and define who's a family member and who's not. I'm not one of them. It does suck. Weenus. Oh my God. Her dog's name is Winnie, and so they call her Weenus. I appreciate you being here, Shar. You have a lot of good things to say. Just like with Charles, and how Charles is not the only man who the stigma, is like they are domestic victims as well as women. And there's a stigma that's like, I've seen it firsthand with other chicks, I'm just like, what in the F are you doing? Like it's that they've punched them, they've hurt themselves and then say that the man did it. And I'm just like, what the is wrong with you? That's not cool. Ew, anyways. So there was just total disregard for Charles. And I mean, they told him how and told her how to, just not even answer the door. They told her all the ways that she could get around it. Then you have the bishop, who is an enabler as well, whether he meant to or not, which I don't know. We'll talk more and more about that after the sentencing. We're going to be like an enema in these cases, and really just I hope y'all are into that. We're going to get down in there. Thank you. Love to you too. Give my mom and dad hugs. Oh, and So, and I'm telling the mods this too, but y'all know. Yeah, I know, Ramona. They should also, yes, they should be there, but they'll incriminate their dad. They could just, not necessarily, but they could, I don't know. That's a tough pickle. Okay, so y'all know how Mom and Larry were given leis that they wore in March of 2020 when she arrogantly walked in the Idaho courtroom for the first time. So if everybody just wants to wear your lei, just wear a lei. We'll get laid, so to speak, because that is one thing that Lori does love is Hawaii, Hawaii, Hawaii. Hey, Sarah. Hey, girl. It's my cousin, my favorite cousin. Don't tell the other ones. She used to say, Kesha, Kesha, hold me. Anyways, I love you, girl. Yeah. So yeah, wear your leis, and she will no longer have Hawaii, Hawaii, Hawaii. And I think that's good. That makes me feel good. You won't tell. Good. You really kind of are, though. Yeah, I actually have some from Party City. They're in my shop, and that's what made me think about it. I was like, okay, we will wear leis. And that's one thing that Lori enjoyed wholeheartedly, ran to for refuge, after she murdered her children and conspired to murder Tammy Daybell. And she ran to Hawaii, Hawaii, Hawaii. And that is one place that she will run no more. And that makes me feel good. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. They did the kind that Mom and Larry were wearing. They were like made by some natives, in Hawaii. So I don't think I don't know. I have no idea. It seems like when will this hooker not have any? I don't know. That depends on Judge Boyce. That's why I make things where you can turn them inside out, and it's just the colors, On the other ones I have, it says "Love always wins" on the inside, but it's like ingrained, or I don't know, embossed or whatever. But anyways, I appreciate y'all being here. Yeah, no more Botox. I need some, and 10 bits. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it is a thing. It is a real thing. I've gone through it myself. I mean, you already feel like you're the bottom of the bottom. You don't need everybody else throwing their heavy ass opinions on you for how you're dealing with things, how you're trying to just exist, And it's a travesty. It really is. And it's unnecessary. The stigma, They'll do it in their own time. We can't force, just like that Visions of Glory excerpt I read, where he wants to save his dad, wants to make his dad believe the way he believes, but that's not how it works. You can't do things for other people. You can just be there for them and love them unconditionally without conditions. That would be great. But anyways, I love you guys. Thank you, moderators. Thank y'all for being here. And we will be live Sunday on our normal day. Maybe before, I don't know. We'll see. Today's Wednesday, so I gotta take the trash out. I forgot. Love you guys. Love always wins. Justice for Tylee, Charles, Tammy, JJ, and Joe, and Brandon Boudreaux. We'll get through it.